are listening to the Joe Mays and J-Raff Show, bringing you the latest news and commentary on baseball.
The 0-2 pitch, swing and a miss, struck him out! The Philadelphia Phillies are 2008 World Champions of Baseball!
Hockey.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Flyers are going to win the Stanley Cup! The Flyers win the Stanley Cup! The Flyers win the...
College football.
The Big Ten championship lies on a measurement.
Did he get it? No! He didn't get it! Penn State home!
They brought back the fun, they brought back the excitement, and now they've brought back a Big Ten championship. The Penn State Nittany Lions are Big Ten champions.
And the NFL.
9 seconds left. Eagles by 8. Brady lines them up. He's back again. He steps up. He's hit. He stumbles. He is throwing it deep for the end zone, and it is batted around and incomplete. And the game is over. The game is over. The Philadelphia Eagles are Super Bowl champions. Eagles fans everywhere, this is for you. Let the celebration begin.
Now, here are your hosts, Joe Mays and Justin Raffa.
Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to episode 253 of the Joe Mays and J-Raff Show. I am one of your hosts, Joe Mays, and sitting next to me, my co-host, Justin Raffoff.
Yeah, and that was the best show intro ever. And you said to me right before the show, like, you ready? And I was like, I've never been more ready for a show in my life than this show today.
For some reason, you were very, very happy to be on this episode. So, I maybe you can explain it to us. Actually, before you explain anything to us, why don't we see actually in person why you were so excited?
That's a good idea.
To be on this show.
No time! They won!
I don't know why I cut off there. Let's try that again.
No time! They won! It's over!
Little excited.
Yeah, just
little
a little
excited. Bit. Yeah, I really, just looking at it, I still don't really believe it. I kept saying that the whole time. Yeah, just can't believe that it actually happened. Yeah. Those things don't happen. It had never happened. So,
a lot of people were talking
incredible.
about, 52 years, but that's just the Super Bowl era.
Right.
It had been 58 years since the
right.
last pro football championship for the city of Philadelphia. You're talking back with Chuck Bednarik was the guy, the face of the franchise, and, that was a while ago.
Yeah, just a bit. We're talking generations.
Yeah.
And so, I am prepared to enjoy it fully, basically. That was my mindset quickly shifted to, I can't believe they won, but I'm still going to enjoy it because, it'll sink in at some point, and I don't want to still be sitting there in shock.
Yeah. So, we're going to talk the Super Bowl. We have to talk the Super Bowl. This is pretty much a football show for the majority of the year. So we're going to wrap up the Super Bowl pretty quickly. We'll spend about the first 15 minutes or so because tonight actually is our 7th anniversary. It was on this day 7 years ago that we attempted to practice for a podcast, and we had our first show. I think it was February 20th was the actual first episode of the Joe Mays and J-Raff Show. But 7 years ago, Justin and I started this thing, and to celebrate, we like to answer questions submitted by our listeners, and we are going to do that. So, why don't we talk about the Super Bowl? So, Justin, why don't you get started with that? And I'm going to troubleshoot here.
Okay, so when we look at the Super Bowl, kind of going into it, people were asking me who I wanted the Eagles to play, and I know we talked about this a little bit in the preview, and we had our resident New England fan on the show too. And I said I wanted them to play the Patriots. Now you got to be careful what you waste or what you wish for, and it wasn't that I was like, I wasn't taking the mindset of like, I want to play Brady, but I wanted to have the look, if the Eagles are going to win, I wanted to beat Brady. And if you lose, you've lost to Brady and the Patriots. And, like, what more can you say? Everyone has. So, going into it, just a little nervous. But I don't know. It felt different than the last time, which was like 14 years ago, or roughly. That time, I truly was, like, kind of just happy that they made it. Mm-hmm. Because they had not gotten there, 3 times, and it was one of those rough instances where you just wondered if they're ever going to make it. That hit on Brandon Cooks. Yeah, and that has a big effect on the game, because Brandon Cooks was out the rest of the game. I know some people were upset about the hit, but it's a legal hit. And this play,
he's a runner.
Oh, almost had it.
No, Butterfingers.
Right.
Yeah, it was interesting.
I loved the $100 recovery pajamas. Can't help you catch the ball or something like that. But I love they asked Chris Long, did you say anything to Brady after because he had run past him? That's Long's guy, I guess, coming off the end. And he's like, no, I didn't want to make him mad.
Probably for the best.
Yes. But the Eagles were able to kind of hold up. Patriots had some unpatriot-like miscues early in the game. And that's huge because the Eagles were kind of able to take advantage. And, man, Foles was like that pass. That pass there was unbelievable. And the catch is great. Like, that's when you start thinking, man, if they can get this going. And LeGarrette Blount's going. They're running. Yeah, the offensive line was able to protect Foles. And, yeah, you start thinking, man, they've got a chance here. But the Patriots, we talked about this before. The Eagles could be up 35 in the second half, and I wasn't going to really be comfortable because it's the Patriots. We just saw them last year, and they could get whatever they want. They were just passing all over them. Kind of surprised that, not that Burkhead got caught, but just that play got caught instead of going for a touchdown. But the Patriots come back and they answer here.
That was great defense by Long there.
Yeah.
Gostkowski makes up for an earlier miss here.
Right.
Of course, the miss wasn't really his fault. It was a poor snap. But, at 15-6 and driving, you're feeling pretty good here. Right. Getting close to halftime. Both Blount and Jai did great on the ground. And Clement through the air, which you're going to see, and we're going to talk about in a bit.
The only interception. And people talk about, they got lucky. Well, you know what? The Patriots got lucky because Alshon Jeffrey almost had that. If he has that, then they've got first and
does have it.
Right. They're first and goal at the 5. So like the Patriots go down here and score, and they get the holding call there to extend the drive, and it was not so much at the end, but he got him earlier in the neck. So like, you know what? But when you give them free first downs, the Patriots are going to score. And I know it was early in that drive, but they move right down the field, and can't cover Hogan.
Chris Hogan.
Man.
Now it's easy to say the Patriots receivers had a great game. Well, when Brady throws for over 500 yards, your receivers are probably going to have great games, and 3 of them did.
Right.
And that was without Cooks.
Right, and that was terrible tackling, and now you see it's like 15-13, and, oh my gosh, here we go. Right.
This is where you think, here come the Patriots right before halftime.
But this is exactly what they talked about with what did the Jaguars do right before halftime against the Patriots. They just played to get the halftime. And the Eagles against the Vikings went for it and got the extra field goal and were able to, kind of get that back in their favor. Well, the Eagles go down and they're able to eventually get a score here before half, and that's huge. And we'll see that score, which is
Here's one of the
Legendary.
earlier passes for Clement, who just stiff arms a guy to pick up an extra 20-plus yards.
Right, and get him
Takes it
inside the 10. Yeah, that's your undrafted free agent, by the way.
Out of Wisconsin.
Yep, I was so pumped when they got that.
Oh yeah, that was a great. I mean, we talked about it, I think, on this show after the draft. We were like, the Eagles got Corey Clement. What a great pickup.
I was really mad real time seeing that.
Yeah, we talked about this through text. They said it looked worse in real time
than this play. Oh my gosh.
Philly special.
Trey Burton, recruited out of high school as a dual threat quarterback. Oh man, the Nick Foles. Oh my gosh.
Legendary.
Yeah. And now that the audio's come out that like he called it, he went
over
and asked to do it.
Run it. He sold it so well, just standing there like,
right.
Hey,
well, he said the defensive end or the linebacker was out further than he's supposed to be on that. So he said, I knew I really had to sell that I was doing nothing because they were gonna
Was it Van Noy or who?
Yeah, Van Noy. It was supposed to, but he sold it. Not only did he just not do anything, he stood there, and then they're able to get out of this, before half, which is key. So
yeah, so at halftime it was Eagles 22, Patriots 12, but no one is comfortable being up just 10 on the Patriots, and early in the third quarter they're going to show us exactly why no one likes to only be up 10.
They remembered they had Gronk.
Yeah.
And
he had only one catch in the first half?
Yeah, and then I think he had 4 on this drive, including the touchdown.
And he ended up with a huge, huge night.
Yeah.
And we'll go over the stats momentarily here. But, a week ago now we were watching this game. Probably was getting ready to start the second half.
Yeah.
And they drove right down the field, and this was disappointing.
Yeah, because you're like, man, you work so hard, and now all of a sudden
not even 3 minutes into the second
half. Right,
half.
and they just drive right down the field.
And that's the first of 2 for him.
And people are complaining because they're not doubling anybody. They weren't doubling him. But that's what the Eagles have done the whole time. They didn't double Julio. They didn't double any of the guys. But there, like a missed tackle. Like there was a lot of talk about Patrick Chung. He just missed some big plays in this game. On Clement some, on Ertz some, there on Aguilar. Like, I don't know. Patrick Chung didn't live up to what they needed him to.
Which is what you were used to as an Eagles fan.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe it's just when the Eagles are on the field, Patrick Chung is not going to get it done. And unfortunately, that included when he was part of that.
Right. So, now here was one of the passes and controversial calls. Let's see if they show the replay here. I don't know that they will. Yeah, here it is. So, to me, this all comes back to the NFL and their catch
rules. Right. They said he had it and that he got both feet in.
And then he started to lose it. So if you have possession and get both feet down, to me, you're now a runner.
Right.
It doesn't matter if the ball
because
moves.
he hadn't been contacted.
So it doesn't matter to me that the ball, and I'm not, you can throw at me that, well, the rule says, okay, fine, maybe they got it wrong. I don't really know. The catch rule is so asinine that it's hard to understand. But to me, that is a touchdown.
And ruled a touchdown on the field.
Now, maybe if it was the other way, if they ruled it incomplete, they reviewed it, maybe it stays incomplete.
Right.
I think it was whatever they called on the field, they couldn't overturn it.
Right.
They called it touchdown, so it ends up being a touchdown.
And there are people who are like, well, his foot was on the line. Well, that wasn't
it was the third foot.
Right.
But
because
possession, one,
left foot,
2,
right
it's
foot.
It's not moving yet. It didn't move until he moves it there at the end. But to me, he's not juggling it.
Right.
He's just
he was moving it. Right.
So, to me, possession was never lost.
Right.
So Philly gets their 10-point lead back, but it doesn't last because they let the Patriots drive right down the field again. And they were able to get it done on the ground at times, and when they couldn't, Brady would put it up through the air.
No pressure at this point in the game on Brady, and that's just going to kill you. It doesn't matter what defense you have in the secondary. It's not going to go well if Brady's just standing back there all day.
And he hits Hogan for the score, 3 minutes and change to play in the third quarter. And once again, the 10-point lead, the 10-point cushion drops to a field goal. And this is when the Eagles are unable to capitalize in the long run.
Right.
Where the offense had been answering every Patriots move, which is what they had to do. And they picked up a few first downs, but in the end, the drive... No, did they get a field goal?
Yeah, they get a field goal here.
My apologies. They do get a field goal. They don't get the touchdown.
Right.
They get the 3 when they needed the 7. And the Eagles' offense able to get part of it done, but not everything that they needed out of this.
They got it into the fourth quarter, but that was the third down play, 3rd and 3, and they lose 5, which honestly pushed Jake Elliott back into the range where it was 40-plus yards, and that's better for him.
Comfortable.
Yeah.
So now it's early fourth quarter. Philly's up by 6.
Right, and the defense hasn't stopped Tom Brady in like an hour.
At
and
least.
So all of a sudden, you're up 6 instead of trading
and you just
touchdowns.
Know that
right.
The Patriots are going to score again. This
right.
6-point lead is not safe. And at this point, I'm on my way to your house.
Right.
And I'm literally pulling on to the road right by your parents' house when this happens.
And Gronk scores. And you can't defend that.
No. There was nothing you could do about that.
Your only way you can defend that is to grab his face mask there, on
illegal.
the line. Right, exactly. And then they get a first down.
He's bigger and stronger than you. I don't.
And a perfectly thrown ball.
Yeah. Well, what a surprise.
Yeah, shocker. There's nothing you can do.
So now all of a sudden the Eagles are losing by a point with about 8.5 minutes to play in the game. But the Eagles offense does answer as they had done all night. Again, there's only one punt in this game. I think it was the Eagles too, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
Earlier in the first half. So Eagles 6.5 minutes to play now.
So this is huge because, and I was saying it's 4th and 1, but I was like, you got to go for it here because if you turn it over, at least they'll score quick, and then you have still a chance to get the ball back. If you punt it and they go 80 yards, they run 3 or 4 minutes off and score because they hadn't stopped them yet. But they were able to get it.
Interesting.
So they're able to get their...
Didn't stop buffering for some reason. That's odd. Good. The end of the game.
Yeah.
It's not like anyone wanted to see that. So, I don't know what's going on. We'll try something here, but I'll let Justin talk about...
Yeah, so the Eagles were able to keep that drive going, and that was huge, that 4th down call. But I completely agreed with it because, look, you got to go, and you'd been very limited as to whether or not you could hold Brady at all. So you got to keep going for the points. And I like that they went for it and were able to kind of keep things moving. And next thing you know, they're able to score and regain the lead.
All right, I think we're back here. So let's try this again. Don't know what happened there. Some rendering and buffering issues. But Foles picked up the first down to Ertz.
I think there's an ad. Yeah.
Oh, that's good. Love it. So we're going to skip past this Metro PCS ad. That's what wasn't loading the last time.
Right.
So here we are.
Right. They get the first down. They get a few more first downs, and then,
Thread the needle.
Right.
Nick Foles.
Right.
Holy.
And the guts it takes to throw these passes.
It's at this point where we didn't realize that the clock's been running this whole time.
Right. They got the ball with over 7 minutes. They ran 5 minutes. And then this was ruled,
this
some people thought...
was much clearer to me than the Clement one.
This
one wasn't even up
people
for
throw
debate.
Jesse James, and this wasn't even close because...
It's not the same thing.
Look, 1 foot.
He has the ball.
Right.
1 foot,
2 foot, 3...
diving.
Right.
Ball has never been moving at all. It's still on his body, not touching the ground. Flops up in the air. He catches it. Never touches the ground. He was not even a receiver when he was touched.
No.
And when he dove, once you cross the line, if you have possession, it's a touchdown. Play is dead. Right?
Right. 3.
There, play is dead.
Right, because he was a runner. Yep.
Because he was a runner, not a receiver. So this wasn't this one's not even close to me.
Right. I agree. And
if you want to argue the Clement one, I'll listen to you.
Yeah,
but you can't argue the Ertz one. The Ertz one is absolutely a touchdown. So,
and this was pass interference.
He
was.
He
shoved him in the chest.
They don't show the replay, but it was.
But then, so now you're in this, oh no, here we go. And Brandon Graham to the rescue. Brandon Graham.
Got the only pressure they got all night.
Brandon Graham
sack of the whole game.
was drafted too high, but he comes in and
we talked about.
And he comes in and, man, what a great time to have the biggest play of your career. Tom Brady fumbles it.
And the rookie recovers.
And the rookie, Derek Barnett, who everybody were like, what? Right, yeah.
Probably us.
Yes, but that's all right.
It doesn't matter now.
Yeah.
Do you know why?
Because the Eagles won the Super Bowl.
So now they just need to pick up a first down here.
And you're right.
And they don't. So kick
Jake
the field
Elliott
goal,
again, though, rookie kicker.
take the points, and now you require Brady and the Patriots to score a touchdown and get the 2-point conversion just to tie.
Right. And that was a bad decision there because it took a lot of time and they got nothing.
Decision.
But the thing that was happening, we were like, I thought Brady was going to score for the touchdown. I thought the Eagles' best chance is to stop him on the 2-point conversion because they can't spread you out,
Although they have Gronk.
They do. But I just thought we've seen this how many times, and then they get him to fourth down. They almost sack him in the end zone.
Yeah.
But they get him to fourth down. And then they pass it. But no timeouts. He's tackled in the middle of the field. Clock is running and running and running.
But
and then Gronk here.
2 consecutive plays to Gronk
right.
like this. And all of a sudden, they're near midfield.
Right, and they're in range to throw the Hail Mary.
Yeah.
And this is the one where, oh my gosh, if they could have tackled him in bounds there.
It was over
right.
at that point. So
but this is this one they get the 4 more yards or the 10 more.
Right, that's right.
They tried to, but it was almost
picked, yeah.
Right.
Ronald
but
Darby.
here, so there's 9 seconds left, which is odd because usually a Hail Mary comes with like 3, and so there's 9 seconds left.
They thought they were running the risk of getting tackled in bounds.
Right. Yeah. So, I think it's Brandon Graham again off the edge, almost gets him.
Yep.
And Brady gets free.
Now
tosses it up, and it's like, oh my gosh.
And you look at this, you see 6 Eagles down in here, and if you count the guy at the 6, Amendola, there's 4 Patriots. So the numbers are in the Eagles' way, but when things like this happen, the ball does funky stuff.
Yes, and it's the Patriots, so something crazy is going to happen.
So the ball comes down, there are 5 Eagles around Gronkowski, and the ball's bouncing around,
and then it hits the ground. Oh my gosh!
Thankfully for them, no one was around to catch it, and there it was.
Yep, and there it was.
So we got a minute of the Eagles celebrating. Doug Peterson got the Gatorade bath. Bill Belichick looks the same as he always does.
Right, yeah, win or lose.
And the Eagles are celebrating. Patriots not sure really what happened.
Yeah, they don't lose games like that. They win games like that.
They're not, well, it hasn't happened to them since 2011, really.
Right.
Gronk looks hobbled, doesn't he? Maybe he's just lumbering because he's so big and strong.
And that's why he's going to retire and be an actor.
Now I know there were some. People that wanted a personal foul on this hit.
No way.
I don't see any pass interference on this. There was nothing there that was obvious. And I know some people said that the Patriots receiver running down the field got hit, which he did. Could they have thrown the flag? Probably, but
you could have thrown a flag on the 2-point conversion for the Eagles.
Right.
When the linebacker shoves the guy in the chest before the ball gets there. So,
right. So, people that want to make it out to that there could have been 3 calls on the final play, like, don't give me that.
Right,
because there's
exactly.
plenty of other. But like I do agree, and although some people were pretty pompous about it, you can't say that during the Super Bowl that the Patriots were in the refs' pockets, because I thought it was an evenly called game where teams got the benefit of the doubt or screwed both ways.
Right. Yeah.
And you know what that's calling? That's
right.
Man being refs.
Right. Again,
man having to take control of a game.
I thought
is subjective.
And obviously, the team I wanted to win won, but I thought it was a well officiated game, unlike most NFL games this year that I watched. Where you just felt like, oh my gosh, this is taking over.
Really, and the reason it's even talked about as much as it has been is not necessarily on the refs; it's on the NFL rules.
Right. Exactly. Arguably the 2 biggest plays or calls weren't even the refs on the field. It's the official. It's whatever
in the booth or whatever you want to say.
Yeah,
because not really in the booth, but back at the league office.
Right, he was there. He was there for the Super Bowl. Yeah, so he's there watching it. Yeah, so those reviews aren't on the refs. So anyway, set all kinds of records for offense or lack of defense, depending on how you want to look at it. But it was pretty awesome. Brady threw for over 500 yards.
505.
Eagles gave up over 600. I think they had well over 500 though. It was just unbelievable. And honestly, I was really excited because there is no if you would have said Tom Brady's going to throw for over 500 yards, the Patriots won't punt,
and the Eagles
the Eagles win. That's you never expect that. But yeah, it was incredible, and it was a lot of fun. I know some of our viewers are more than happy to watch the highlights, and others probably pretty sick of it by now. But you know what? We're going to be those insufferable Eagles fans right now. That's what we're called to do. Like, we can't let this opportunity slip us by. I might be. Who knows if I'll live long enough to see it happen again? This is true. You know, every 52 years would probably be pushing it. So, we'll have to wait and see. But
so final score: Eagles 43, Patriots 33. Nick Foles MVP, 28 of 43, 373 yards, 3 touchdowns. The one interception that was
crazy stat for you. Nick Foles has played 4 playoff games. In the second halves of those 4 playoff games combined, he has 14 incomplete passes.
Wow!
In 4 games.
Yeah. Tom Brady, we mentioned 505 yards. He had 3 touchdowns. He was 28 of 48. Blunt, 90 yards to score. Ajayi, 57 yards for the Patriots. Lewis, 39. White, 45 on the ground. Receivers,
man,
Aguilar,
how
84.
far did Nelson Aguilar
We
come?
were so high on him coming out of USC.
Yeah.
We were excited he went to the Eagles, and then he just struggled. Like,
right.
there wasn't it drops. I mean,
right.
He just wasn't there. And then when they got rid of Jordan Matthews last year, now they had added Torrey Smith and Alshon Jeffrey, but you're like, keep Matthews, get rid of Aguilar.
They must be high on Aguilar.
Man, what a year he had.
Yeah.
Ertz, 7 for 67, and the game-winning touchdown. Smith added 49 on 5 catches. Clement, the rookie, undrafted, 4 catches, 100 yards, and the score. On the Patriots side, Gronk, 116 and 2 touchdowns. Amendola, 8 for 152. Hogan, 6 for 128 and a score. So 3 receivers over 116 receiving yards.
That's crazy.
Brandon Graham, the only sack of the game came at a moment that was pretty crucial. Barnett, the recovery, and we saw Duron Harmon for the Patriots got the only interception. So only, I believe, 2 turnovers. The pick that probably, was kind of a crapshoot.
Right,
That wasn't a bad pick.
Right, and it wasn't a bad bobble. Like, he was just trying to make a play. It would have been an amazing catch. It just happens sometimes.
It was a very clean offensive and turnover game. Now, defensively, not so much. But, like, when I say that, I mean, like, the interception was kind of a fluke.
Well, and the offensive lines were playing well. Yeah. It wasn't like they weren't bringing pressure, like, on teams. Like, quarterbacks were getting it out. Like, there's some shoddy tackling on the Eagles side, but we saw some of it on the Patriots side, too.
The fumble came on a strip sack. It wasn't someone losing the possession. It was an exciting game. One that obviously people in this area will remember forever. And, when we were growing up, when we were big into watching the NFL, not that it's really any different now, but like that was our life, pro football, the games were awful. Like, we didn't have a good game in the early 90s.
They were all blowouts.
The last good one, I think, was Giants-Bills with the Norwood missed field goal. And then they were terrible for like 7 years or something like that. You had the Cowboys crushing people. You had the 49ers crushing people. Then all of a sudden, the
Packers blew out the Patriots.
Right, the Broncos and Packers, or Broncos blew out the Falcons in a game. Now, I guess Broncos-Packers was decent. It wasn't like nail-biting, because I think the Broncos ended up winning by like, was it more than a 1 possession? No, I can't remember. It's been a while. But then we had a great game between the Titans and Rams, and that kind of turned things around. Now, I know the game between the Raiders and Bucks wasn't great.
Right, which was frustrating because that's the one the Eagles should have won.
Yeah.
Like, because the Eagles should have beat Tampa, and they could have crushed Oakland in that. But it didn't work out that way. And honestly, now it doesn't even matter because the Eagles won the Super Bowl.
Yeah. So, but anyways, we're obviously going to talk more football and more Super Bowl here, but we're talking about our listener special here, our 7th anniversary. So we had people contact us, and we're going to go in kind of in order that they sent the questions, just so the people that got them in early will hear their questions answered. Some of them are related or close to each other, so we're kind of just run through them really quickly. But the first one to come through that we want to touch on as it relates to the topic we were just discussing is about the Eagles. So actually your mom, Cheryl, let us know that she wanted to ask, what were the key elements for a successful Eagles season during 2017? So I have some stuff outlined here, but why don't you give your take?
All right, so I think some of the key stuff was, and you saw actually Malcolm Jenkins, I think, talked about this later this week. The key was last year when things went south, and we talked about this a lot in the preseason And we talked a lot about it early in the season, about how the Eagles went like 2 months without a win last year. And like just the growing from that and how they were able to finish strong. And, I know I like to kid about it, but, coming back and beating the Cowboys in the last game of the season, it meant nothing to the Cowboys. Like, I get that last year. But just the attitude and the development of the young guys last year on a 7-9 team, I think they went last year.
Yeah.
Kind of set the tone, and a lot of those young guys stepped up and really learned the system, and they were able to kind of get everything in place. Carson Wentz played out of his mind the first part. So he didn't win the MVP, which I get. He missed 3 games. He threw more touchdowns than Tom Brady, and he missed 3 games. That's usually not the area where you're going to beat Tom Brady. You know what I mean? Now,
right.
I know some of that is skewed because they had some blowouts in there, but so did the Patriots in those years where Brady got it. And I'm not saying Wentz should have been MVP, but
I think if he plays the whole season, he probably.
I think he wins it. Yeah, I think he wins it if he finishes out the season. But that ability and the way they got the offense running, and the way they got guys involved, the way they build up Aguilar, and Doug Peterson. So we were talking about this in the early part of the game when they, were going for it on 4th downs and pulled that crazy play right before halftime, the Philly special. That's been Peterson all year. Like, that's not like some people. If you haven't watched the Eagles, you might be like, "Oh, he's coaching scared." No, he's not. Like, this is what they did all year. I think they went for it second most times out of everybody in the league, and they converted 20 out of 29 on the season, 4th down conversions. They go for it a lot. And they were talking, I was listening to this podcast this morning, and they were saying, Doug, like, the Eagles have really accepted, even though Peterson's like a lifer football guy, like, they really accept the role of analytics, especially in certain ways, and they sit down and discuss all these possible scenarios, and they have a guy in the booth who, that's his role, is to be in Doug's ear and be like, you said in this scenario that we're going for 2. Right. So they had predetermined that in that scenario they were going for 2, based on analytics, not based on you're chasing points, but they said they do that to try and take the emotion out of the moment so that they can just be, based on the numbers, we should go for 2 here. Based on the numbers, we should go.
That's a dream job right there.
I thought of you. Yeah, you being the guy who just run the analytics. Yeah.
Like that, we need to go be like the unsung hero of a
right.
team's
So
success.
they try and make. Now, obviously, there are decisions that he has to make, and you could see like when they were going with the Philly special, like they were going for it on 4th down, but like the play that they called was is the gut. It's not the decision to go for it. They'd already decided, like, look, we're not gonna kick the field goal there. We're gonna go for the touchdown. We need touchdowns if we want to beat the Patriots. And you look back, Jaguars the week before weren't able to do it. Falcons last year weren't able to do it. Like you look back at those Patriots' huge comebacks, they're always they aren't even attempting those plays. They're just settling and trying to end the game as quick as they can. The Eagles are basically playing as if, look, let's just go. We're going to outscore you. Now at the end, I know they were running. They should have passed when it was 2:03 left and it was 2nd down. It was like 2nd and 5 or whatever, and they had a chance to pass because they wouldn't have. The clock was going to stop for the 2-minute warning anyway. Right. Now, things can go wrong if you get sacked or there's a fumble.
Yeah, I don't think you want to be second-guessing with the result you got.
No, but I'm saying, like, that would have been the easy time to pass to put the nail in the coffin and try and get the other score or the first down that ends it. However, I get what they did. But, yeah, they had it all set up. And, yeah, I know you have some of the stats here that kind of verify a lot of this stuff.
Well, I mean, you touched on a lot of stuff I wanted to say. So, number one reason for success, I think, comes to Peterson. He was confident, and he used some unconventional, at least historically, coaching, which you kind of talked on already. You also mentioned MVP caliber quarterback play for 16 out of their 19 games. Most of that was from Wentz, but we saw from Foles at least the last 2 weeks.
Yeah.
When you needed it the most.
Right.
You got it. Then stingy defense, I think for sure. They were 4th in yards per game. 1st in rushing, although they were 17th against the pass, which you kind of saw in the Super Bowl.
And let's talk about situational defense. And I texted this out to the group. In the last 2 minutes of 19 different games this year, so every game, last 2 minutes, Eagles did not give up a point.
Nope,
That's
zero.
unbelievable.
When
Unbelievable.
it matters most.
Right.
They gave
We're
up
not
zero.
talking. We're not talking garbage time. Nothing. They didn't give up a point in the last 2 minutes of any game this season.
They didn't give up a lot of points all year. They were 4th in the league. No, all the stats I'm saying are regular season. It doesn't count playoffs, just to put that out there. But they were 3rd in third down conversions allowed, so they got off the field when they needed to. They also, by luck of the refs or by their own play, they were tied for 7th in penalties. So, not top 5, but up in the
not where you're
top
costing
quarter.
yourself games.
Right. The craziest thing I saw is they were dead last in time of possession, which means the defense was on the field a lot because the offense scored so quickly.
Wow.
The offense only had the ball for 27 minutes and change. So the defense was out there more often than not. Now I know special teams eats up some of that too, but the Eagles were so good on offense that the defense had to shoulder the load, and they were still a top 5 defense. They were 3rd in pass breakups. They were 4th in interceptions, one of which they scored on. They only had 12 forced fumbles, but they were 6th in fumble recoveries, and they returned 4 of them for touchdowns, which was 2nd best in the league behind Jacksonville. They were middle of the road in sacks, so while the defensive line was good against the run, they weren't great at pressuring. But with Long coming back, Barnett in his second year, you hope that the Eagles can take a jump in that regard. Now you can't overlook the offense because obviously you can put up points. Not many teams can beat you. They were 7th in yards per game, 3rd in points per game, 4th in turnover differential. They were 1st in receiving touchdowns, and this comes into play with Doug Peterson now. 1st in 2-point conversions. They had 6. The second best team had 3.
Wow.
And you mentioned 20 of 29. In the regular season, they attempted 26 and then converted on about 65%.
Right, which is insane when you think about it. Like, 4th down conversions, man, that can really change a game. And you saw it in the Super Bowl alone. But over the course of the season, think about how many possessions that changes. Every one of those possessions. Now, some of those you might go 3 more downs and then need to punt. You never know. But even if a third of those turn into scores, man, that's crazy. But
then this kind of piggybacks on the offense. But the offensive line, 6th best in yard per carry. They had 64 rushes for 10 or more yards, and they did their best up the middle, which says a lot about Jason Kelsey. They were 1st in rushing plays of over 20 yards, and they were tied for 9th in the league for rushing plays over 40 yards. So they're getting it done on the ground in addition to
and you look at that, and not to go Jason Kelsey on us, but you have your Hall of Fame left tackle go out. You have left guard who's been a journeyman in Wisniewski and Warmack, right?
Rotating in there.
Jason Kelsey, who even Philadelphia, but people had been like, maybe he's past his prime. There was some talk a couple years ago that he might be on the way out, all this stuff. Thought Jason Kelsey was the normal brother. We clearly have settled that he's not, and that's okay.
That's fine.
The statue should be built soon. So, but Lane Johnson, who's had his, history, we'll leave it at that. But I think the first right tackle to be selected to the Pro Bowl in a long time, because they always elect 2 left tackles basically and make one of them play right tackle. It's just they've been, man. It all came together. It all came together.
Now we're actually going to move to another question from a different listener, and while this is from my dad, Bill, he actually asked about the Eagles. Now, being a fan of a fellow NFC East team, he wants to know about Eagles free agency losses and their outlook in 2018. Right. And it actually, for most of the people listening, or at least the people sitting here, or at least one of the persons sitting here,
and you too.
What I'm about
you too.
I mean, hey, I'm not going to get into the order of my teams right now, but Dolphins are still number 1, and I still got to put the Steelers at number 2. So 3rd spot is up for grabs. If anyone wants to convince me one way or the other.
Let's be honest. Let's take a look. It's not the Cowboys. Number 3 is not the Cowboys.
I have no comment on the matter. So, unfortunately for you, Dad, at least for 2018, it's not good if you wanted the Eagles to be losing a lot, because they are not.
I believe 21 out of 22 starters return.
So
have the potential to return.
Set to be free agents in a month from Valentine's Day are running back Sproles, who missed almost the entire season.
Yeah, I think went out the first game.
I believe this is the starter, Nigel
Yep,
Bradham.
Nigel Bradham.
Then you have tight end turned Super Bowl quarterback Trey Burton.
Third tight end.
A couple reserve in safety Graham. Then one of the running backs in Blunt.
Right.
Injured and probably reserve kicker Caleb Sturgis.
Yep.
Reserve linebacker Daniel
LRB,
Ellerby.
who they picked up mid-season.
And then a couple of swing guys or special teams guys in Beatty, Brayman, Good. Patrick Robinson is quasi-starter.
Yes.
He's more of a nickel dime back. Safety Jalen Watkins, a returner and running back Kenjon Barner, and defensive tackle Bo Allen. So this offseason, not a lot to hurt the Eagles.
Right. And you know, one of the things that we talked about was the depth was key this year. So it's not that you can expect that not all those guys will be back, obviously. Some of those guys, especially when you win, some of those guys are going to get their money, and I don't blame them. Some of them might not have the opportunity to come back. But when you look at key contributors, there weren't a ton. Burton had his moments, you know, where he did fine, especially as Ertz was hurt.
A third tight end or second, depending on what you think of Selleck. You know, Ertz is your guy. So, like, you're not going to break the back.
Exactly.
If Burton wants to stay, so you can work it out.
Yeah, some of the secondary guys, but you have Sidney Jones, who should be in the mix next year, you know, who was at times a first-round talent, but because of injury wasn't able, you know, hurt himself in, you know, off-season workout.
Right.
Not off-season, but like pre-draft workouts.
The bigger issue for the Eagles may come next year, but the good thing is usually front offices are looking 2 years down the road, not necessarily to this season.
One of the things, the Eagles will have two quarterbacks. Now, this is including Foles. So the top two quarterbacks on the Eagles roster will make less than, I think, 14 or 15 individual quarterbacks on other teams.
Right. Well, you have Wentz on your rookie deal, and you have Foles, who was basically out of football.
And I think he makes $7.5 million next year. Like, so that's why people are like, "Oh, they need to trade him." Well, no. If they are offered the world for him, yes, then maybe they do need to.
Right.
But
it's all relative.
But in terms of like, oh, they need it because they need cap space because they're one of the worst. Like the Eagles have among the least amount of cap space, in these teams, like of all the teams in the NFL. But we just talked about they don't have to replace a lot. So,
and they can rework some people's contracts and all that.
Right,
but
exactly.
2 years from now, Brandon Graham, Nick Foles, Brent Selleck, Chase Warmack, Chris Long, Ronald Darby, Jordan Hicks, Jay Ajayi, and Jake Elliott are all due.
Right.
Those are all starters or key contributors in this 2017 season. So those are the people that they're going to start talking about this offseason. Those are the positions that they're going to talk about for draft.
Right.
And
honestly, I think it's likely that Foles, Selleck, Warmack, and Long, at a minimum, all of them I think are gone.
Quite possibly.
Like, we'll have to wait and see.
I wouldn't be surprised to see Brandon Graham go.
Right. He's been around a while.
He has been around a while. But Darby and Hicks and Elliott, I would think, would want to stay and would be very keen on staying. Ajayi, depends on what they do with Blunt. Now, Ajayi is younger.
Right.
If they let Blunt go, you probably don't want to lose Ajayi the next offseason. So it's tough to say depending on what they do with Blunt and then how they handle Ajayi next year. But so the outlook for 2018 for the Eagles, I would say they've got a good chance to repeat as division champs. To me, the Cowboys are the biggest hurdle there. I think Dallas was on the fringe this year. And if things go their way and they don't have to deal with off-the-field stuff with Ezekiel Elliott and they can keep the offensive line together and Dak looks better and is better with Elliott back there, I think the Cowboys are probably their biggest hurdle.
See, my hope is that Dez can really screw things up for them, like off-the-field issue-wise this year.
And, I mean, honestly, they should be a strong candidate to play in the NFC Championship.
So, here we go.
Top 2, top 3 team in the NFC.
Is Dallas at Philly the opener next year?
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, obviously the Eagles will host that Thursday night game, and there's a lot of good potential matchups there. It's tough to pass on Dallas at Philly after the Eagles win the Super Bowl.
Right. And after Jerry Jones has made it clear that, that sound you hear is me screaming into my pillow.
Yeah. And also, do you think the NFL, in New York, the administrative and executive part of that, remember what Jerry Jones put them through this year, and they're thinking, hey, Go and see the Eagles raise the banner. Go take
Right.
your Cowboys there. They're
Right.
limping.
Roger can go, and Roger can be there, like part of the celebration for the Eagles.
Right.
Just to rub it in, salt in the wound a little bit. Let's make this happen.
Until the
This is
Super
great.
Bowl, when was the last time you heard Roger Goodell get cheered at an NFL game?
I was going to say, what prop bet would there have been for Roger Goodell to get cheered at the Super Bowl?
It makes sense, though, because the Eagles
It
only
was
care
perfect
about the trophy
storm.
he's holding.
Perfect storm.
Why would you boo the guy that's giving you something you've wanted for 52 years?
Right, exactly. So just to recap the NFL year for the Eagles. Hosted the best draft ever.
It was,
Right.
by far.
Then they win the Super Bowl, and then they have an awesome parade. And
they
man,
host
what a
the
year.
kickoff to the 2018 season.
Yeah.
All
So-
within, 16 months?
Yeah. Oh, man, it's incredible. What a time to be an Eagles fan.
All right, we're going to kind of continue with the NFL trend because we have another question from your mom about the Ravens' 2018 NFL outlook. This past year,
Not as clear.
not as good as the Eagles,
Yeah.
I wouldn't think. But hey, Eagles won 7-9 last year, won the Super Bowl
Hey.
this year. Ravens 9-7 this year. They just missed the wild card, kind of brought on by themselves.
Completely brought on by themselves.
What's working in their favor though is what kind of staying power do the other playoff teams have?
And this is the argument that I've heard, and I know it's a stretch, but I've heard it for another AFC North team in people jumping on the Browns. Now, this is before they've made the moves, but the Browns have $100 million possibly in cap space this year. Now, what you end up doing with that goes a long way to determining how that goes. But think about it. You could
They
go
don't
out.
have a great track record.
No. And if anybody could screw it up, it'll be the Browns. But think about how they could set themselves up. They have the first and fourth pick and close to $100 million in cap space.
So you're thinking Darnold and Barkley to Cleveland.
Yeah.
Man, that'd be a shame to give up on Deshaun Kaiser after 1 year. I mean, I know it wasn't a great year, but Peyton Manning was awful for 2 years in Indianapolis. At least, I mean, he showed flashes, probably a lot more than Deshaun Kaiser did, but Manning threw more interceptions the first 2 years in the league than touchdown passes.
Yeah.
The Colts weren't good this first 2 years, and then look what happened. Not saying that Deshaun Kaiser is Peyton Manning. Of course, I'm not saying that.
Right, but we've preached consistency over and over again, and Cleveland has been the team that has gone against that the most.
Right. I'm surprised they kept the coach.
I'm
Hugh Jackson's
shocked.
still there.
I'm shocked.
He's 1-31 or something like that.
1-31.
So, so that's working in Baltimore's favor. Is
Cincinnati's
maybe the
probably
other
taking a
teams
step
in their
back,
division, right? You have to play against Pittsburgh, who's likely to stay on top. Same
Right.
thing with the Patriots. But you have Kansas City, new quarterback. Jacksonville, who really knows about them? Was that a flash in the pan? Same thing with Tennessee. They were inconsistent.
Right.
That they had that miracle comeback against the Chiefs. Buffalo, Buffalo probably shouldn't have been there this year.
Right.
You know, it all came down to Cincinnati taking down the Ravens in a crazy game. So what's Baltimore losing?
Right.
Not a lot. Mike Wallace, Ben Watson, Ryan Jensen are free agents. So is Terrence West. But other than that, you know, it's all there. But it all comes down to the quarterback. It's a quarterback-driven league. Joe Flacco is 33 and entering his 11th season, but he is signed through 2021. However, is that a good thing?
I don't know. And it becomes one of those. He's clearly good enough to win a Super Bowl because he has won a Super Bowl, right?
But that was also now 5 years ago.
By the way, heard this stat today. Only 2 quarterbacks drafted in the last decade have won a Super Bowl because a lot of quarterbacks were drafted before that year.
So Flacco and Wilson?
No, Wilson and Foles.
Oh, was Flacco on the other side?
Right,
of it? Okay.
I think by a year.
By a year, okay. Well,
But
he was the same year as Chad.
Right, so I think counting
This coming
right,
season?
right.
Okay, all right. I was going to say, because that
So
doesn't make any sense.
So because of that, and let me think, it's Wilson and Foles who were both drafted in 2012 in the 3rd round, 13 picks apart. Because all of them are, Ben was drafted before.
Oh, yeah.
Rodgers was drafted before.
Peyton,
Eli, you're right. Yeah.
Aaron, Brady,
Right.
all those guys are pre, 2005-ish?
Yeah.
It wasn't is Rodgers the youngest of that group? Because Roethlisberger and Manning were 04, weren't they?
I don't remember.
I want to say they were 04.
I think wait. Rodgers, he was the same year as Alex Smith. That doesn't mean they're the same age, though. In my head, I was thinking, because...
Well, Rodgers and Smith, I thought, were 05. I thought Roethlisberger and Manning were 04 with Phillip Rivers.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Brady was, 2000? 2000.
I thought he was 99. Yeah.
99.
But yeah.
And Manning, we know,
Right.
was 98.
But yeah, so it's one of those where you're just like, man, you know, it's kind of interesting when you look at the quarterbacks that have been drafted, you know, don't always end up in great situations.
Well, 5
but
years from now, where are we going to be?
Here's the problem. Like, Flacco, he's good enough, but I honestly don't know that the rest of the team is.
Right,
and
that's
like,
exactly what I
and
was
so
gonna
it'll
say.
come down to Flacco because that's one individual that you can kind of point to. And I don't know that he's good enough to lift them to a championship or to compete for a championship. However, the rest of the team is not good. They're not good.
No, I mean, they're average.
Right.
They are average. They went 9-7 this year. Went
And
to
on
7-9
offense,
last
they're
year,
terrible.
8-8.
On offense, they're terrible.
Yeah, well, listen to some of these stats. 27th in yards per game. 11th in rushing yards, not so bad, but 29th in passing yards. They actually were 9th in points per game, but they were the third
Yeah,
least
but they also
penalized team,
scored
and
didn't they score like 50-some in a game?
They were first in turnover differential. But defensively, 21st in yards allowed per game, 6th in points allowed. So, like, they had a top 10 offense and defense in terms of points, but they only churned out a 9-7 record.
Right.
The team is average at best. They're destined for another 9-7 season, which may be good enough for a wild card. And I know if you get into the playoffs, anything can happen. We've seen it happen many, many times. But Joe Flacco is not good enough to carry this team anymore. It's 5 years removed from their Super Bowl title, right around there. This past year, Flacco was 21st in passing yards, 32nd in yards per game, 22nd in passing touchdowns, 7th with interceptions, 26th in passes over 20 yards, 21st in passes over 40 yards, 46th in quarterback rating. Now, some of those players didn't complete a lot of passes. So if you take away the guys
but
who
that's
didn't
hard to do.
complete 100 passes, he was still 27th. 27th. So when you have a middling
So you're saying
offense
he's
and
not
middling
elite.
defense, no, Joe Flacco is a bottom half of the league. Maybe he's 17th, maybe,
Right.
but he's not 16th or higher
Right.
anymore. Now, I'm not
right.
saying he wasn't ever. Was he a
Right.
top 10 guy? Probably for
Right.
a few years. He looked incredible when they won the Super Bowl.
Right.
You know,
But again, they've done nothing to help him. And Ozzie Newsome has put together some great teams, but
It's
they've
fallen
put
off.
together some stinkers. And I think he's stepping down after this
and
season
this is
coming
his last
up.
year. Yeah. So we talked about the Eagles. We talked about Ravens. Why don't we talk about the rest of the NFL? Then my dad asked about 2018 as it pertains to the entire league, real quickly because there's a lot else we want to touch on. In the AFC, we already said Patriots and Steelers probably there, but the West and South are likely wide open.
Yep.
In the South, I think with Watson and Watt back, I think the Texans are the team to beat there.
Absolutely.
Watson actually was the, 7th rated quarterback before he got injured as a rookie.
Yeah.
So I think there could be some big things coming in Houston as long as he's fully recovered and ready to go for the whole season.
I showed him running the other day.
And
so.
J.J. Watt is coming back. That hopefully will help that defense, which was snake-bitten down the stretch. But you had Tennessee and Jacksonville in that division in the playoffs. So interesting division for sure. Out West, let's see. Denver, they need to add a quarterback. We'll see if they do that. Are the Chargers going to be better earlier? Because if they had been, they would have been in the playoffs easily.
Yeah.
Oakland brought back Gruden. And now Kansas City has a second-year quarterback replacing Alex Smith, who was a top 3 quarterback, at least rating-wise, this past season. So the West is a crapshoot. Right now, actually, I'll give it to Gruden. I'll say I think the Raiders are the team to beat.
Yeah, I think the key there is
what he does with Carr and
the
the
players
offense.
didn't like Del
Rio.
Rio. And right or wrong, right, that's a separate issue.
Well, depending on why they didn't like him, Gruden may not be the best.
Right. But I feel like they want Gruden there right now. And I think that buy-in could be a big swing for them this year. Oakland's looking intriguing out there.
NFC this past year was Eagles, Vikings, Rams, Saints, Panthers, Falcons in the playoffs. In the East, we already touched on. We think it's Philly and Dallas and then everyone else. Even though Washington, Alex Smith, what makes them interesting just because he is a very good and efficient quarterback that's not flashy, could be what the Redskins need. Right. But I think the Giants are not there
But they
yet.
traded their best secondary defender for a quarterback that's 5 years older than the quarterback they had, who statistically is the same.
Right. So where's Kirk Cousins going to go?
Right.
Is Denver the likely destination? That makes the AFC West even more crazy if it is.
Yeah.
NFC North, a lot of people are putting stock into Rodgers returning to the Packers. Maybe there you go back to
In
excellence.
a contract year, by the way.
I agree with them. I think it's going to be Green Bay there. I'm not dissing Minnesota, but Case Keenum's got to do it for more than a year for me if they're sticking with him because they still have Bradford and Bridgewater too as of right now before the new league year starts. I think Minnesota is in wild card contention there.
Yep.
In the South, that to me is up for grabs. I think any of those teams could win it because I think Tampa Bay has the parts. They just need better coaching and better play. Carolina, Falcons, Saints. I think the Saints could struggle to replicate the success from this year.
I agree.
And I'm not saying that they're a 4-12 team, but I think they're going to drop back and be closer to 500 and finish third or fourth in the division. I think I favor the Panthers there. I think I like Cam Newton and what they got on offense.
See, I think Atlanta rebounds next year. I think they were a little bit of hangover this year.
That was the toughest for me to
I think they're coming back.
nail. So right now I'm leaning Carolina there. Out west, I think Seattle returns to form. And
I think the Rams come back to earth a little bit. Not that they won't be good.
Right.
I think they come back to earth a little bit this year.
I think they're a wild card.
I'll tell you what, though. You see how much money's going in on the Niners out in Vegas right now? However, they have some interesting defensive problems that arose today.
Wait, what?
Who's the line? Reuben Foster has been charged with domestic violence and had an assault rifle in his car.
Oh, good.
Yeah, so...
those
are charges. That's not convictions, but that doesn't always mean anything in the NFL. But, so...
I have San Francisco third just because Garoppolo, who we need to talk about a little bit later, 5-0 as a starter.
Yeah, 7-0 for his career.
That's true. I think, they're going all in on him. I think that's a fine move. That's a place where I think Saquon would be a great fit. I don't think he falls there, though. Imagine?
I don't think he falls that far.
Yeah,
but can you imagine?
That would be crazy. But I don't think they're quite there yet.
I agree.
They went were they 5-11 or no? They were 6-10. I could see them creeping up to 500. I could see them getting to 7-8 wins. And then if they do free agency and the draft right, they could be ready to break through in the West in 2 years. When I think Seattle could be dropping back, and then it's Rams 49ers.
Yeah.
Then it's Rams 49ers because I think Arizona's a few years away from doing anything there. So that's what. That's kind of our early look at 2018. A lot of the same, but also a lot different. We said Patriots Steelers likely, but we see Houston, Oakland, the Chargers maybe challenging in their divisions. NFC, we still like the Eagles, but we think maybe the Packers could surprise with Rodgers, like Justin mentioned, in a contract year. So we're going to step down a rung now and go to college. My dad asked about Penn State in 2018. And, after 2 straight 11-win seasons, a Big Ten championship, a Fiesta Bowl victory, people, I think, kind of were saying, all right, well, Penn State had their moment. They're going to drop back a little bit. Saquon Barkley's leaving, yada, yada, yada. People actually that paying attention to recruiting and what's coming back should anticipate at least another 10-win season to me.
Oh, man.
I'm all on board. I doubted them this year just because the expectations were so high.
See, I do think that the radar has now shifted, and it's going to be on Ohio State. I'm telling you where else there's going to be focused this year, especially if they struggle early, is Michigan. Because Harbaugh, I'm telling you right now, and I said this, we talked about this back in bowl season. Right now, you could rank Jim Harbaugh. You could rank him maybe the 7th or 8th best coach in the Big Ten based on expectations versus reality.
Right.
Not that I'm not saying he is the 7th, but based on expectations. The expectations were that he was coming in and they'd compete for national championships right away.
It hasn't happened.
And they've finished third the last 2 years.
In the
East, right, in the division.
So Penn State should be a Big Ten contender, obviously with Ohio State in the East. I think they're a dark horse college football playoff contender because if you win the East and you win the Big Ten, you are likely in the college football
See, that's
playoff.
the advantage. So, as much as I complain about the unequal divisions in the Big Ten, it has its benefits to be in the hard side. Because if you win, and in college football, you got to win your games. But if you win, you've got your shot. Whereas Wisconsin, they probably would have gotten their shot if they had won, beat Ohio State. But it's a lot harder there because there's, well, and you have Nebraska there who's intriguing now with the new coach and everything. But
so Franklin and his staff's recruiting has improved each year. He just landed, depending on what site you're using, a top 4, top 5 class, better than Alabama.
Yeah.
Penn State has just nailed recruiting in Pennsylvania, the Mid-Atlantic, and their tentacles are reaching into the South, into the heartland.
Florida, man.
Yeah, they are grabbing some great prospects from around the country. And despite their losses, we all know that Barkley's gone. Deshaun Hamilton could be a big loss, but and their entire secondary and linebackers are going. But the projected starters next season have a higher average recruiting rankings than the past 2 teams did. And the past 2 teams just went 22-5.
Right.
So now I know recruiting rankings don't always translate to success on the field. But when you look at the studies over the years of recruiting versus national championships, right, there's a huge correlation there.
Yeah, there's a reason why Clemson and Alabama and Georgia have incredible recruiting classes every year.
Ohio State.
And now and Ohio State. And you know who's been up there climbing? And like you said, up there with all those big boys this year is Penn State. So now, again, that this year, sometimes it takes a little bit of time till some of those guys work their way in, but those increased recruiting classes, it doesn't hurt. It doesn't hurt.
Franklin's 4th year, so he's now got basically a full tenure, counting red shirts. This is his 4th recruiting class. It's his best yet. He got the number 1 player in like 3 or 4 states, including Pennsylvania. Some guy named Micah Parsons, who's going to wear number 11, by the way, and play linebacker.
Welcome to Stick City. Right?
So probably the biggest reason I'm so high on Penn State is Trace McSorley is back.
Yeah.
For year 3. He became the guy last year.
Heisman candidate.
Because everyone keyed on Barkley. Right. McSorley was winning them games. And McSorley is an early, trendy pick for the Heisman. Yeah. Now, you also have, replacing Barkley, you have 5-star junior Miles Sanders, who I've seen play in person in high school, and 5-star freshman from Virginia, Ricky Slade. The wide receiver depth is off the charts, and that doesn't even count 5-star Uber prospect Justin Shorter,
right,
who is going to step on the field and be a monster.
Who I believe was the number 1 player in New Jersey, I think.
He was
up
that.
there. He was number 1 wide receiver, I think, in New Jersey.
Penn State got number 1 in PA, New Jersey, and Virginia.
Yes.
Shorter, Slade, and Parsons.
Yeah.
And offensive line, they're above average now, but 4 or 5 are back, and you got 3 big-name guys ready to challenge for the vacant spot left by Brandon Mann at guard, which would be Mike Miranda.
Which,
CJ
by the way,
Thorpe,
when you say the vacant spot,
single.
That's something we haven't had for a little while.
Local boy Michael Mennett also
right,
in conversations to take over that guard spot from Brandon Mann graduating. Probably the biggest thing in the defense is getting John Reed back from his ACL injury.
Yep.
He was a monster 2 years ago. I shut down guys, I believe a sophomore then,
right,
true soft.
And he'll be a full year and a half removed from right. He'll be a full year and a half removed from it, so it's not like beginning of the season.
And Amani is back. I can't even pronounce his last name. So him and Reed at corner. So they move Wade to safety.
Yeah, who's a freak athlete. You just put it safety
because Marcus Allen and Troy Apke are gone. They need to find another safety, probably that in the box type, because Wade is probably going to be the free guy. They're going to have an incredible defensive line rotation. Sean Spencer, Coach Chaos. He's probably has his best group he's had there.
Who I ran into last weekend.
Who Justin just talked to, no big deal.
Yeah. Made sure I told him we renewed our tickets, so we're good to go.
Linebacker depth is probably the biggest question mark. Kabinda's gone. Koa Farmer and Cam Brown are back. Micah Parsons likely to play the inside guy. They're going to give him a trial.
I thought Koa Farmer's gone.
No, Koa Farmer's back.
Really?
Yeah. So if they find some depth there, and there's some players, but a lot of them are young and inexperienced or move positions. So there's question marks for sure, but I think some of the doom and gloom that's going on after graduating so many people, and a lot of that focuses on Barkley, I think Penn State should be a minimum 10-2 in the regular season. Why? Because they have a favorable schedule plus all the talent that they have on the field. They host Appalachian State to open the season on the 1st of September. They travel to Pitt. Then they host Kent State before traveling to Illinois to open Big Ten play on a Friday. Thank you, Big Ten. Before hosting Ohio State. There is no reason, based on the coaching and talent, that Penn State should be anything less than 4-0 at that point. No excuses to be anything less than 4-0.
I know.
Like, I don't care that it's at Pitt. There's no
they need to beat Ohio. Yeah, they need to beat Pitt.
They have the talent
and
on the Penn State
what
team.
would be fun is to go into Pittsburgh and send a message. Like after
them.
Pitt's coming off of a non-bowl season, like just go in there and just wreck them.
And remembering what happened 2 years ago.
Yep.
So they should be 4-0 going to Ohio State. But you get Ohio
And
State
hand out
at
keychains. Go ahead.
You get Ohio State at home.
Yep.
So obviously, I'm going to call
Anything
that
can
one a
happen.
toss-up.
Anything can
I'm gonna
happen.
call that one a toss-up. Then you enter your bye before hosting Michigan State, who you want payback
Two
for.
huge games in 3
And
weeks.
who
there.
they're reeling because of off-the-field stuff that we're not going to say anything about.
Right. Withhold judgment.
Then you have to go to Indiana, which not
Can be
always
sneaky.
easy. That's a sneaky one.
Sandwich between Michigan State and Iowa.
Iowa at home. Now, I know
Right.
Iowa wants revenge for what happened last year, but it's in Beaver Stadium, so
Right.
that makes me feel
Man.
much better. Then you got to go to Michigan. So that also is another toss-up there
Yeah.
because it's going to Michigan where Penn State has not played great.
Right, but you know what? Time to turn that around, too.
Right. Then you host Wisconsin, who's on the regular season schedule for the first time in a few years, before finishing with two what should be easy
That
games.
could be a monster game, that Wisconsin game.
Yeah.
Whew.
At Rutgers and host Maryland Thanksgiving Saturday. Big Ten title game is December 1st.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's a lot of tough games, but almost all of them are at home, save for Michigan. That's
Right.
why I think Penn State is destined to go no worse than 10-2 in 2018.
That would be fun. That would be fun. Man, the key is to win that second one. You beat Pitt at Pitt, then you should beat Kent State, obviously, and you should beat Illinois on the road.
On the road and
And
Friday.
then you're
is a
4-0 coming into that Ohio State game
You
at
win
home.
that, and the nice thing about that is that emotional game. If you win that game, you have a bye the next week.
Right.
So you can let it simmer, let it sit,
And think about how
and then
Michigan
get
State
ready.
cost you
Right.
this year.
Michigan State ruined your season last year. It wasn't the Ohio State game; it was the Michigan State game that
Yep.
ruined Penn State's season. Now you get to hopefully beat Ohio State, recover from that on a bye week, then tackle Michigan State. If you beat OSU and then you can take to MSU, not that the second half is easy.
But you have all the
it-
momentum
you
in the
have
world
it
then.
in your sights now.
Yep.
You have it in your sights. And you could get a chance for a Big Ten title preview against Wisconsin on November 10th,
Right.
Unless Nebraska surprises.
Right, but we don't have to play Nebraska.
Or Minnesota.
Right, yeah, so that's nice.
All right, so that's Penn State. Let's kick it a rung down even lower now. My dad asked about Wilson 2018. We're going to run through this really quickly because we did this on the Bulldog Hour in December. But 2018 Wilson outlook. Schedule is moved a week earlier. Wilson starts August 24th at Central Dauphin before Labor Day weekend at home against Governor Mifflin. Then they have Springford at home, travel to Manheim Central. That's their 4 non-league games. Then they have Penn Manor on September 21st at home. That's the opening of the LL Section 1 schedule. They travel once again to Manheim Township because it's a new tier cycle, and that's sometimes how it happens. Then October 5th is the big one. It's against Hempfield, who probably won't be as good as they were last year. They're losing a lot of good players in Himmelsbach and Martin Robinson. But that is the game at First Energy Stadium for the Baseball Town Gridiron Classic. They will play at the Reading Fighting Phil Stadium in Reading. Then they go to Warwick, host Cedar Crest, and finish the season at McCaskey. Then there's potential for 5 weeks of playoffs, culminating with a state championship game on December 1st, which would be the same day as the Big Ten title game.
Imagine Wilson winning a state title and Penn State winning a Big Ten title to go
Finishing
to college football play. Yeah,
undefeated Big Ten championship.
yeah, all on the same day
We're
within
not
within
crazy
hours.
whatsoever.
Yeah,
So why do we think Wilson will be better this year than last year? Well, I think it's because of the number of contributors back.
yeah, they do have a lot
We
back.
talked about this on the Bulldog Hour in December, but on offense they have 8 guys that played a lot last year coming back. McFoy, Gilmore, Corson, Johnson, Klein, Keller, Ventura, and Venino. On defense, 11 guys that played a lot last year are back. Keller, Ventura, Colson, Johnson, Smith, Magalotti, Cook, Corson, Gilmore, Fry, and Fox. And the big one on offense and defense is tight end linebacker Nick Johnson, who was kind of became the heart of the team last year as an underclassman. He was the defensive player of the year for the team and got a lot of offseason accolades. He is back, and I think after the way last year ended, an 8-4 mark, not winning the league for the first time in a decade, I think this team will be ready to go. Of course, the biggest question mark, who's going to be quarterback? Seniors Futrick and Heckman are trying to hold off juniors Williams and Veal. The sophomore involved is Corey Powers, younger brother of Colin Powers from a few years ago, 2015. I don't expect him to get the job this year, but it would be cool if a young guy like that stepped up. Right now, probably the leading candidate is Futrick, but I wouldn't count out Cameron Heckman at all. But it's really, really soon, and we won't know till August.
Yeah, we may not really know till September.
Yeah.
And I say that knowing there's two games in August. Right.
Yep. It wouldn't be the first time.
Yeah.
So, another one of Cheryl's questions. Will the Orioles trade Manny Machado? Now we're on to baseball here. I say yes.
Yeah, absolutely, because they know he's going to leave, and he can't lose him for nothing.
So he's the right-handed third baseman, eligible for free agency following the
moving
World
to
Series.
shortstop this year.
Right.
Yeah.
33 homers, just under 100 RBIs, 163 hits. Not a great average, 259. This was all just this past season. But he's only 25 and a top 3 pick from a few years ago. And the potential landing spots, Cardinals, Cubs, White Sox, Yankees, Giants, Diamondbacks, and
the Phillies.
And actually, CBS Sports had the Phillies as the second most likely destination for Machado.
Phillies have a lot of prospects where they can trade.
The top 3 teams they mentioned, the Cardinals, Phillies, and White Sox, have either very strong up-and-coming stars, or St. Louis has young players contributing in the majors that could get the deal done. Because Machado, the demands from the Orioles for Machado is similar to the Jason Hayward trade from 3 years ago. And the O's want pitching talent, which the Cardinals, Phillies, and White Sox can give.
Which nobody here, though, is going to make that big trade without getting the extension done.
Right, absolutely. Yeah. For sure. So,
but yes, he will be moved.
He'll be traded by July, for sure. Now, we got an email from Rich, and he's going to talk a little bit about the Super Bowl. So, first off, congratulations to your Philadelphia Eagles on winning their first, that's big, bold, and blue letters there, Super Bowl. Now, the challenge is to win a second one. If you need some advice, I know a team you can ask. The Steelers, right? Because they got 6.
I was going to say, it's first, but there's no asterisks with this one, so we're good. Now I'm throwing shots. I'm sorry.
Also, congratulations for 7 years and 253 episodes of your great show. Well, thank you. We appreciate it. Did you think you would be on this long?
No.
Probably not. No. Especially after the first 2 months where we're sharing microphones and
we were sitting back to back sharing microphones.
Yeah, it was an interesting time.
Yeah, right. If you would have told me that the show would still be going and the Eagles would win a Super Bowl, I would have thought you were crazy. Yeah.
So, Super Bowl, let's talk. I would say this was one of the best ever played despite the team that won.
I've heard that from multiple Patriots fans, by the way.
Boy, do we in New England have a way to make people happy. For 2 teams with supposedly good defense, where did they go? Foles had a great game, and Brady threw for over 500 yards. Only 1 punt in the entire game, and missed extra points and field goals. I believe we will make it back next year. So one of my questions to you is, will Philly? I think we said we're not going to go out and say they're definitely making it back, but they should be in contention to make it. They are likely, I would say, likely division champs and one of the top 3 teams in the NFC. Justin, I almost wanted to make a bet with you, but decided against it. I know how handsome you would look in a Patriots jersey, and I also remember how I felt when I had to wear a Steelers shirt.
I don't know that I said it on air, but I said it to you that I didn't do it because as much as I give Rich a hard time about the Patriots all the time, I'll take the grief from Rich, because he takes it from, it's all in good fun.
Yeah.
But, I really, really try not to give crap to fans that I'm not willing to take back.
Right.
And while I would have loved to see Rich in an Eagles shirt, I wasn't willing to put on the Patriots shirt, so I didn't even throw it out there.
He actually texted me this, I think, was it the day before the Super Bowl? It might have been the day before. Maybe it was the Friday before that he wanted to make a bet with you, but he was like, he couldn't do it. He didn't want to have to he didn't have to go through with it. Yeah. He has another question here. So the Eagles be keeping both Foles and Wentz?
Unless they're offered the world for Foles.
I mean, why not? There's no
I'm
reason
telling
not
you.
to.
Somebody was like, well, what would you do? I was like, Cleveland offers that number 4 pick. I sent him on the way.
Say bye, Nick.
Yep.
So obviously Wentz is the guy. Foles winning the Super Bowl doesn't change anything. Wentz is the future. Foles is here as insurance. He did what he's supposed to do, and now he's probably going to be the starter for the first 6 weeks.
Right, exactly, because Wentz's injury happened in December, not in September. So they're going to need him.
I don't think there's any way Wentz starts the season. He's likely destined for the PUP list.
And that's okay. That's okay.
Right. And now, his first game could be in London, Wentz, against the Jaguars.
That's fine.
So I think they're definitely staying. Like you said, unless they get some crazy offer, both of them are Eagles in 2018. Will Garoppolo be worth the big contract the 49ers gave him? Right now, it's looking like a yes. Although in the first 5 years of his deal, he'll make more than Brady did in the first 13 of his, which just tells you the crazy numbers being thrown around out there.
But at the same time, you need a quarterback, and if they think they found him, and everything we've seen so far has told us
also thinks they found him.
Right, exactly.
That's why I'm going to say yes.
Yeah.
Garoppolo will be worth it.
I kind of view it as like that, where whenever Penn State gets a guy that was recruited, had an offer from Alabama, I get excited.
Yes.
I kind of view that this way. Like, Belichick didn't want to give up Garoppolo.
Not at all.
And that's rare. Belichick's usually looking for who can he get rid of.
Kyle Shanahan called earlier in the year, and Belichick basically laughed and was like, "No way, I'm trading him."
Wow.
That came out recently.
Wow.
So
yeah, that makes me like Garoppolo even more.
By the end of the penultimate or the final season of Jimmy G's original deal here in San Francisco, I think it will have proven to be worth it. Will they have won a Super Bowl? I'm not going to go that far.
Yeah, I don't know.
But if they're winning divisions and going to NFC Championship games, he'll have been worth it.
Right.
Do you think Billy will retire after? Now, he says 2019. Now, I don't know if he means the end of the Super Bowl next year or if he means the end of the 2019 season.
I don't know.
I think should they win the Super Bowl next year, I think maybe that would happen. A year from now, he could go out. He'd have played in 3 straight Super Bowls. What would it be, 9 overall? Yeah. Winning 6. This is just with the Patriots, time with the Patriots. And with everything that happened this year, supposed drama, losing the Super Bowl, it probably would be a good time for him to hang it up. But we've said that for many years. So until it happens, I'm not buying it. Do I think it will happen? I think too much has to go right for it to happen, so I'll say no.
Yeah, I say no.
How do the Phillies look for the upcoming baseball season?
It's interesting.
Similar to the last 3 years, but hopefully a little better.
Right, yeah.
Like, they still have the young guys. They have the young farm system, but these guys have played a lot now over the last 2 years. They should be making strides. If they could get to the mid-70s wins, I'd be happy.
Yeah. I'm hoping for 500 this year.
Oh, man, that'd be great.
I know. It's a little crazy.
I'm hoping for 75 to 77. If they could get to 81 wins, yeah, I'd be on board. Once again, congratulations on your 7 years, and may you have a lot more to come. You're a loyal listener and still a Patriots fan, Rich. So thank you, Uncle Rich, for listening. Thank you for contributing as much as you do. And, I'm not going to say I'm sorry that the Patriots lost because I just can't do that with a straight face.
That's right.
You've got 5. You've been to 3 more. I really can't feel that sorry. I am now. Obviously, I'm in the Philly area, so I don't have to take New England fans that are being obnoxious, really. But of the New England fans I know, they've all been very gracious.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Hats off to them.
I got a message from a college friend who lives in Connecticut, won tickets to the Super Bowl, so she was at the Super Bowl.
My.
And she commented on a picture I posted from the parade and said, "Look, I'm not necessarily happy about the outcome, but she's like, enjoy it. Like Philly deserves it. Hope you're having fun, kind of thing." Like, and I just replied, "Thank you. You're handling it better than I would have." And thank you for sharing the wealth. Like
that's the thing though. Like Philly would be distraught and probably obnoxious if they had lost, but that's because they've never been there.
Right.
They had never won. Like if you lose again in heartbreaking fashion.
Who was the Clipper? Doc Rivers was in Philly, right? And he said he's walking around and he's like, man, that win, the Super Bowl win. This was yesterday. He's like, changed the town. He said it changed the town. He said he was walking around town. He's like, and people were like smiling and shaking his hand. He's like, and people actually wished him good luck. He's like, knowing I'm the Clippers coach, not the Sixers coach. He's like, this is not the same Philly. He's like, it has changed. They have changed the city.
But it's okay though because the Sixers won.
Right.
And are undefeated since the Eagles won the Super Bowl. So are the Flyers.
Right, exactly.
The entire outcome for the city has changed.
That's
now we're going to see the Sixers and Flyers win theirs in the coming years.
Yeah.
And we already have 10-year anniversary of the Eagles winning the Super Bowl party already planned.
Yeah, we already have it planned on our calendar.
That was actually planned before the Super Bowl, mind you.
So I didn't say anything to you until after the Eagles won, but when they won the NFC Championship game, I put in for my personal day.
Yeah, you told me that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it had to be switched.
I had to switch it, yeah, but I was already had it in.
Hey, sometimes you got to do what you got to do. So, thank you, Uncle Rich, for listening and writing in. Now, your dad got a few in here that we can cover real fast.
Yep, a couple of them we talked about. Yep.
So, first one, though, we haven't talked about. It's a little bit of NBA talk, which we're going to do in the next few months. I'm going to contact my buddy Dallas Wood, see if he wants to come back on. But your dad says, having just beaten the Celtics by 22 today, what are the Cavs' chances for making the NBA Finals with their new, younger look? Can they beat Golden State?
So I put their chances to make the finals at 65%.
I was going to say 50-50.
Or 67, so that, like, I'd say two-thirds, maybe.
Two-thirds, okay.
I really like what the Cavs did. I think it makes them, quote-unquote, better now. They have guys that want to play with LeBron as opposed to guys that kind of got stuck playing with LeBron or had been there for a few years and kind of ran its course.
Or at the end of their...
But I think they're also positioned better for, one, to try and get him to stay, and two, if he leaves, I think they're in a better position now than they would have been before, too.
He's coming to the Sixers.
Oh, my gosh. I actually thought about this today. I'm like, if he comes to the Sixers, oh, my gosh, that'll be incredible. If he goes to the Lakers, that's fine, too, because then it becomes one less team you have to worry about in the East.
Right. For sure. So, I agree with you. I think they are better now and in the future.
Can they beat Golden State? They've done it before.
Right.
But I hope not. So,
I put them at 50-50 to represent the East in the finals. Can they win the finals? I think they can. Will they? Probably not. I want them to, as the opposite of Justin, but hey, you can't win them all.
That's right. Save it for next year with the Sixers.
Right, exactly. That's fine. I'll take that trade. All right, number 2 from Jeff. What chance do you give the Eagles to return to the Super Bowl and repeat?
If I had to put a chance on it, I'd put it at
go ahead.
20%.
That's exactly what I was going to say. 20%. 1 out of 5. Right now I say 1 out of 5, just because it's so tough to do.
Right.
It hasn't been done since the Patriots in 04-05, right? Which the second one was against the Eagles.
The Patriots made it back to the Super Bowl this year from last year.
I mean, repeat as champs.
Oh, yeah.
Not playing too
the repeat as champs, I'd probably put it at like 15% or 10% to do it. To get there, I put it at 20. They do return a lot, though, man.
I say to get there, I put it at 35%. To repeat, I'll say 20%. And people say that's crazy and it's high, but whatever. That's what I'm going with. What areas do you think the Phillies have improved? Where do you believe their greatest areas of need are? Is there one key free agent you'd like to see them sign? Mike Trout, right? Oh, it's not a free agent.
Right, but do whatever it takes to get him.
Just trade everything.
Yeah. Oh, my gosh. If Mike Trout ever comes to the Phillies, look out.
Oh, my gosh.
Get LeBron and Mike Trout.
I don't think Philly would know what to do with themselves after.
No.
I mean, it doesn't matter if the Phillies won the World Series 10 years ago.
Remember how we've talked about this a lot. Like 2004, Boston was still the lovable loser city, and now they're not.
I'll take that.
I want that. I want to be that.
I want where no one cares about Philadelphia anymore because it means we're winning.
To quote Jason Kelsey, that won't get me in trouble. No one likes us, and we don't care.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I would say let's not go over the rest of his speech.
That's the only part where we're going to be able to touch on. But
where have the Phillies gotten better?
Batting. Carlos Santana is going to add a big bat.
Yep,
that'll help.
That's right.
Hopefully take some stress off the guys that are supposedly the big bats but weren't really big bats, like Mikel Franco and stuff like that. So hopefully it helps out there.
I still say offense, I think, is their biggest area of need.
I would agree.
Because I guess I'm banking on the pitching being better. Their relief pitching wasn't bad last year.
Right. I know there are rumors that they may be in play for Arrieta, which that kind of ups that timetable. Like if they are, then you need to be like playoff contender.
You need to be getting to at least 500.
Yeah, the rumor I heard yesterday was trying to get Arrieta for 3 years, $75 million, $25 million a year. So.
Well, we will be doing a full baseball preview probably at the end of March. So we're actually, since we're rounding out the show here right now, we're actually going to take about 5 weeks off here just because football season is such
hiatus.
Football season is crazy. And I know we took like a holiday break, but football season is just crazy. So we're going to take some time off. And I have a lot of stuff that I have to do in March that takes up a lot of time for work and coaching. That we're just going to lay low a little bit.
Right.
So our next show won't be until Sunday, March 18th, which is actually a week after March Madness begins. So we're going to do a March Madness show.
Well, no, that's the Sunday it starts.
I'm talking, we usually do a selection show.
Oh, you're right. Sorry.
Yeah, March 11th is Selection Sunday, but March 18th we'll be back to recap the first 2 rounds. We'll be at the Sweet 16 when we come back on. So we'll almost be there because there'll be games late, probably Sunday night. Mm-hmm. So we'll recap what happened Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday during the day. We will be running a bracket challenge.
I'm going to be at games on the 17th, by the way.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so we'll talk about
down
that.
in Philly?
In Pittsburgh.
Oh, in Pittsburgh. Okay.
Yeah.
So we're going to see if Adam wants to come on and talk about what's been happening in March Madness. We will have a bracket challenge, so you have to stay tuned into the Facebook page for that announcement. If you need an email or text, let me know, and I'll send you the group invite. I'd love to get 40 brackets again this year. And again, the offer still stands. If you win and you want to come on the show, you can pick the sports topic and be a guest.
Sounds
host. Good. More from us. Check out jmnjrradio.com. Follow us on Twitter. Shout outs. I know my uncle is celebrating a birthday in, I believe, 4 days. So happy early birthday to Uncle Rich. I know you have one coming up as well.
My sister's birthday is on Thursday.
So happy early birthday to Andrea, too. Is that everyone?
The ultimate shout out, the Philadelphia Eagles.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
World
Thanks again.
Champs.
Yeah.
So I think that's it. You have anything else to say?
No.
All right. Thanks for joining us. That wraps up the 253rd episode of the Joe Mays and J-Raff Show.
We hope you tune in every Sunday for our take on sports. Until next time, I'm J-Raff.
And I'm Joe Mays. Thanks for listening.
Ladies and gentlemen, but excuse me. Where's this booze coming from? I'm sorry, but we are going to be playing. And we need you to participate, Chris Killian. Fly, Eagles, fly on the road to victory. Fight, Eagles, fight, score a touchdown, 1, 2, 3. Hit 'em low, hit 'em high, and watch our Eagles fly. Fly, Eagles, fly on the road to victory. E-A-G-L-E-S, Eagles! Go Cubs!